Hello everyone and welcome back to Catmose. I can't believe for many of you it's been 6 months since you last had a proper lesson and were able to come into the college and enjoy meeting your friends. But here we are, and what I want to do now is to reassure you that we've given a great deal of thought about your return to college, that it's going to be safe, that you're going to be able to catch up with all of that work that perhaps you didn't quite understand or you fell behind on. And that as time goes on, we hope that we'll get back to a normal Catmose experience, all of those extracurricular activities, the electives, the trips and visits that you've grown used to and enjoyed over the years. At the moment, though, things aren't going to be quite like that. Normal lessons will resume, but as you will see as I go through this video, you'll be placed in bubbles and you'll have lessons predominantly in those bubbles, particularly at Key Stage 3. At Key Stage 4, we want you to ensure that you get that specialist teaching, and so your bubbles will be across the year group, which will allow you to have specialist lessons, be grouped appropriately according to your ability and the subjects that you're taking. And we're also ensuring that you're able to get your sport lessons, and that electives will take place, although in a much more limited way than the choices you would normally have. For those of you who, like Year 11, who are starting a really critical year culminating in exams, try not to worry. We do have a plan, we will support you, we will get you caught up, and you'll be ready for those exams next summer. What I also would like to do on this video is talk about the measures we've taken to ensure that the building is safe, it's COVID secure, and that you can come back with that safety in mind. And so I'll go through in this video some of those mitigations. It's difficult, I think, going from what we've just done, which is for some of us 3 months of lockdown where you did very little outside of your normal home, and to what has been the last few months where things have gradually eased. But I don't know about you, but I think it was hard, wasn't it, going from that lockdown phase to meeting up with a few people, perhaps going shopping for the first time. And the next step of coming back to college will be another daunting one, I am sure, for many of you. I'd be very surprised if you're not worried. I was. And in many ways, having everybody back in is still a worry. But I know that myself, my senior team, and every member of staff have done their absolute best to make sure that your experience coming back to college is as normal as it can be, but also will keep you safe and keep your family safe when you go home. If you are worried, my advice is to talk to people. The worst thing you can do at the moment is not talk. If you have something that you're worried about, talk to a friend, talk to your tutor, pop down to client services, have a chat with someone down there. When you come into college, the main thing I would ask of everybody is keep washing your hands. If you can, bring your own little bottle of sanitizer. And whenever you get the opportunity, and certainly before you eat or before you go to your next lesson, please use sanitizer, wash your hands, keep surfaces clean, keep using your own equipment, make sure you've got a pen, a pencil, a ruler, perhaps a calculator, and that you don't need to share other people's equipment. Try and keep to your own. Although Covid-19 can be a really devastating illness for people, the good news so far for children and adolescents like yourself, the symptoms generally are always mild, and you make a rapid recovery if you have got it. Many of the mitigations that I'm going to talk to, the steps we're taking to keep people safe, are to protect your parents, your grandparents, and the teachers who are older and more susceptible. And it's really, really important, therefore, that you do your bit to stop the spread of this illness. So I'm now going to talk through some of the mitigations that we have in place that are designed to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. The first and most noticeable thing that you'll see when you come in is the one-way system. There are signs on the floor which indicate which direction you must walk in. And whilst walking, as far as you possibly can, you should stay socially distant from anybody that's not in your social bubble. Every single student will be allocated to a bubble when they first come into the college on their first day, and that's why we've asked different year groups to go to different parts of the building where you'll be put in a bubble, and that bubble is the bubble you will stay in for the entire of your college day. So you'll have lessons in that bubble, you'll go to breaks and lunches in that bubble, and you shouldn't mix with students outside of that bubble, and you should stay 2 metres apart from anybody who's not in your bubble. We're asking the same of staff, so staff should stay 2 metres apart from you and 2 metres apart from each other, and that should happen across the whole of the day. If anybody needs to come closer than 2 metres outside of that social bubble, then they will have been asked to wear face coverings or other protective equipment to ensure they're keeping you and themselves safe. So when you come into the college, you'll see that first of all, we're not allowing students in before 8:15. So normally it would be 8, and I'm hoping we'll get back to that as soon as we can. But at the moment, you can't come in before 8:15. And if you do come in before lessons start at 8:40, you must go to the room of your first lesson, and you must stay there. You can't use the library, the Hella Up, the other social spaces before college, and that's to reduce the risk of you coming close to other people outside of your social bubble, and that's why you must go to your classroom. Similarly, at the end of the day, you should go home, and you should only be staying if your parents have requested some wraparound care because they're key workers and need you to be supervised at the end of the day. If they haven't done that, then you must go home. If you get a bus, you will have had communication from us already, and you'll have an allocated seat on that bus. You must only sit in that seat. You shouldn't swap seats, you shouldn't move seats, and if you do, then you will be banned from the bus. So please, you stick to the seating plan, and that again is to keep you safe, because the seating plan is such that you'll be with other students who are also part of your bubble. We've also asked parents that they don't come onto the premises. We're not allowed to have parents uninvited onto the premises, and so they will need to stay outside. If they have any concerns or queries, they should contact the college in the usual way by email, and somebody will get back to them. And if we do need to invite parents in for a meeting, we'll go through a risk assessment to make sure we're keeping them safe. But on the whole, parents won't be coming into the building. I said at the beginning of this video that I was hoping for us to get back to as normal as possible. Unfortunately, not everything will be normal. We're not able to authorise any trips or visits, and that's likely to be the case until at least end of term 2. So normally we would have students going out, for example, in year 7 to the John Clare House. We might have residential trips, for example, a trip to Malaysia. All of those experiences have had to have been cancelled because of COVID, and we won't be approving any others. Similarly, many of the extracurricular activities like choir, orchestra and sport will be different. In the first instance, we're not allowed to have choir, for example, and so please watch this space. We'll keep you informed about what activities are available and what additional steps are necessary to allow you to take part in them. Throughout lockdown, we use Show My Homework, and that will prove to be a really good way of keeping you informed, letting you know what you need to do, and giving you feedback. We've decided that we're going to continue to do that during normal lessons. So each lesson, your teacher will upload onto Show My Homework the resources from that lesson, and they will of course use it for prep in the usual way. And that means that if you do need to isolate, or you can't attend because you've got ill, you'll have access to that work just like everybody else, and that will allow you to keep up and catch up with work as you need to. Similarly, if we have to go into lockdown again, which I'm hoping we don't, you'll be able to use Show My Homework as we did before, and we'll complement that with live lessons, video clips, presentations, and all of the other things that we got very good at during lockdown last time. I've talked about some of the mitigations. It's really, really important that you take these seriously. We've updated our behaviour policy as a result of these measures, and if students break these rules around social distancing, becoming too close to staff, or breaking their bubbles, or not following the instructions of staff about keeping their hands clean, or other measures, then we will log this in the usual way, and for students who persist despite being asked and reminded, I will look to have to exclude them, and they won't be able to come back into college. Please take this very, very seriously. We recognise that for many of you, you will be worried about how much work you've missed, and for those students who are now in year 11, they will be worried about their exams. Please be assured we have a plan. We're going to offer additional support through intervention, through catch-ups, through the electives time, in order to get you caught up so that you don't end up being penalised by something that was completely outside of your control. And so, although for most students I've said you need to go at the end of the day, if you're asked to stay for a catch-up or for an intervention, that is perfectly fine, and we'll be taking normal measures to keep you safe during those times. They won't be optional, they will be compulsory because it's so important that we get you caught up. I also talked about parents not being able to come into the building, and that will impact on things like progress evenings, but they will still take place, albeit it will be different. And so instead of parents coming into the building, they'll be able to either phone or use Microsoft Teams to access staff and get feedback, and they will happen as they usually do on the published timetable, and we'll release further information as we get closer to the time. So I'm now just going to talk through some of the key issues that you'll come across around the college. Asking no students to come in through reception or to leave through reception. We want everybody to come through the turnstiles. Now around the place is the one-way system, social distancing, and regularly there are sanitizer units which you need to use. If you don't wish to use those, you should bring your own sanitizer and use it regularly. On your mind, like most of us, is food. I'm pleased to say the refectory, the orangery and the restaurant will all be open. We're going to ask staff to mainly sit in the refectory. If you bring a packed lunch, we'd like you to use the Heller Up. And then if you're going to use the restaurant or the orangery, you may well find that there's queues, and what we're going to do is to ask you to queue outside. Some good news is that I'm relaxing some of the restrictions around the menu, and so we will be offering chips on more than one day, and that will hopefully help alleviate the very large queues that we often see on a Friday. But I'd also encourage you to consider eating outside as often as possible. The usual benches are there. College day is changing this year. You'll see that you now have 30 minutes every single day with your tutor. This will give time to cover off tutorial content as usual, but also time to catch up with other people in your bubble, and also to share any concerns you might have about how the day or indeed the return to college is going. The other significant change is around the staggering of breaks and lunches. And so this year, year 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11 will have separate breaks and separate lunches each day in order to help us to maintain those social bubbles we've been talking about. So when you get into lessons, it's slightly different to normal because usually teachers lay out classrooms as they wish, but now we've got everybody facing the front in twos, and remember you'll be in your social bubble during these lessons. When you get to your lockers, you will find unusually you will be with everybody from your social bubble. You should think about when you're going to your lockers and to minimise the need to bump into other people. When you go into some of the office spaces, it is a little different. What we've installed are perspex screens, and we've done that because we're not able to keep everybody 2 metres, and so we've got screens in to protect people as well, and that certainly is the case in client services. Many of you have music lessons, and they're going to continue. Instead of the teachers coming in though, what you will find when you go into the music lesson room is a laptop and a computer, and you'll have your lessons through Microsoft Teams as you have been doing during lockdown. But I'm expecting staff to use the study areas. Students should not be using study areas, and staff will use them as an office space during the time for assessment and doing planning and so on, and you should avoid those spaces, please. It is likely at some point many of us are going to be impacted by Covid-19. It's really important that we offer support to people. It's not an opportunity to ridicule or accuse people that because they've had the virus they've done something wrong. That's simply not the case. It's really important that we're supportive of everybody. I'm hoping this video has helped. If you do have any questions, please do ask your tutor. Pop down to client service and ask them. I will be out and about as usual. Please don't hesitate if you've got any concerns or you've got any worries to come and have a conversation with me. Thanks very much.